Asia is a British rock band. The band was formed in 1981 as a supergroup of 4 members from different progressive rock bands, namely John Wetton, Steve Howe, Geoff Downes and drummer Carl Palmer. The band has gone through many lineup changes throughout its history, but in 2006, the original lineup reunited. As a result of this, a second band called Asia Featuring John Payne exists as a continuation of John Payne's career as Asia's frontman from 1991 until Wetton's return in 2006. In 2013, Howe retired from the band in order to pursue other projects, and was replaced by guitarist Sam Coulson, completing the current lineup. History, formation. Asia began in early 1981 with the apparent demise of Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, 2 of the flagship bands of British progressive rock. After the breakup of King Crimson in 1974, various plans for a supergroup involving bassist John Wetton had been mooted, including the abortive British Bulldog project with Bill Bruford and Rick Wakeman in 1976. Wakeman left this project at the urging of management, according to Bill Bruford. In 1977 Bruford and Wetton were reunited in UK, augmented by guitarist Alan Holdsworth and keyboardist violinist Eddie Jobson. Their self-titled debut was released in 1978. But by January 1980, UK had folded after 1 lineup change and 3 recordings. A new supergroup project was then suggested involving Wetton, Wakeman, drummer Carl Palmer and South African guitarist-singer Trevor Rubin, but Wakeman left this project too shortly before they were due to sign to Geffen and before they had played together. Wetton's Caught in the Crossfire solo album did not fare very well in England. In late December 1980, Wetton and former Yes guitarist Steve Howe were brought together by A&R man John Kalodner and Geffen Records to start writing material for a new album. They were eventually joined in early 1981 by drummer Carl Palmer, and finally by Howe's recent Yes cohort, keyboardist Geoff Downes. 2 other players auditioned and considered during the band's formation were former The Move and ELO founder Roy Wood and the aforementioned guitarist-singer Trevor Rubin, who would go on to be part of a reformed Yes in 1983. Rubin, in a filmed 1984 interview included in the DVD 1912 Live, said that his involvement with Asia never went anywhere because there was no chemistry among the participants. The band's first recordings, under the auspices of Geffen record label head David Geffen and Kalodner, were considered disappointing by music critics and fans of traditional progressive rock, who found their music closer to radio-friendly album-oriented rock. However, Asia clicked with fans of popular arena acts such as Journey, Boston and Styx. Rolling Stone gave Asia an indifferent review, while still acknowledging the band's musicianship was a cut above the usual AOR expectations. 1981 €85, early years. Asia's self-titled debut album Asia, released in March 1982, received considerable commercial success, spending 9 weeks at number 1 in the US album chart and selling over 4 million copies in the States alone. The album sold over 10 million worldwide and has never been out of print. The singles Only Time Will Tell and Heat of the Moment became huge top 40 hits, both boosted by popular MTV music videos. Both tracks were stadium favorites at US sporting events. Soul Survivor also received heavy airplay on rock stations across the US, as did Wildest Dreams, and Here Comes the Feeling. The band's best-performing single, and perhaps their most recognized and popular hit song, Heat of the Moment, spent 6 weeks at number 1 on Billboard's album Rock Tracks chart and climbed to number 4 on the Hot 100. In the United States the band did extremely well, selling out every date on their debut tour, which began at Clarkson University in Potsdam, New York and continued in theaters but quickly expanded into massive arenas because of high ticket demand. Asia would go on to receive a Grammy Award nomination as Best New Artist of 1982. MTV also played Asia videos on heavy rotation as many as 5 times a day. Both Billboard and Cashbox named Asia's debut the number 1 album of the year. Asia's logo and cover art were handled by illustrator Roger Dean of Yes and Uriah Heep fame. However, neither the second album, Alpha, nor any following Asia album could repeat the chart success of the first release. Don't Cry was a #1 album rock track and top 10 pop hit in the summer of 1983, and the video received considerable attention on MTV, while The Smile Has Left Your Eyes, a fan favorite for John Wetton's vocal performance, was yet another big top 40 hit for the band. The video for Smile also scored heavy MTV play. However, Rolling Stone panned Alpha as an overproduced commercial album, while others lamented that Howe and Palmer were effectively reduced to session musicians. The tracks Eye to Eye and My Own Time became huge fan favorites. Open Your Eyes, Midnight Sun, and The Heat Goes On became concert staples. Alpha received indifferent reviews from various critics, while still attaining platinum status and reaching number 6 on the Billboard album chart. In October 1983, Wetton was forced out of the group on the heels of the comparatively disappointing sales of Alpha. The band stated that Wetton quit and there is no universally agreed upon version of what happened. Wetton later revealed one factor may have been his alcohol dependency. In any event, the next leg of their 1983 US tour, scheduled for the autumn, was abruptly cancelled, reportedly because of low ticket sales. Ex-King Crimson and ELP frontman Greg Lake replaced Wetton for the highly publicized Asia in Asia concert at the Nippon Budokan Hall in Tokyo, Japan on December 6, 1983, which was the first concert broadcast over satellite to MTV in the US and later made into a home video. Some of the songs had to be played in a lower key to suit Lake's voice, and he read most of the lyrics from a teleprompter. The Japanese dates were successful financially but not musically. Lake left in early 1984 on Asia Reunited with Wetton that same year to start work on their next album. But Howe soon left to be replaced by Crocus guitarist Mandy Mayer. Howe then enjoyed brief success with GTR, another supergroup, formed with Steve Hackett of Genesis and produced by Downes. 1985 91, Astra to the USSR. The third Asia album was tentatively titled Arcadia, but during production it was discovered that that name was being used by a forthcoming spin-off project from Duran Duran. The retitled Astra, released in November 1985, was not as commercially successful as the first two albums. The record label cancelled the projected tour because of lack of interest. Howe's replacement, Mandy Mayer of Crocus, provided more of a hard rock approach. The band enjoyed another hit single with Go, featuring Mayer's guitar heroics center stage. The music video was another hit with MTV. In 1986 this Asia lineup folded, bringing the group to an end for the time being. Singer-songwriter Wetton is quoted as saying it, "Astra did really well in Sweden. But Swedish sales aren't that large." Wetton resurfaced with a 1987 album with guitarist Phil Manzanera, Wetton Manzanera, based on material that had been originally intended for Asia. Also in 1987, Wetton played with Phenomena on their Dream Runner album and landed a #1 hit in South America with the Phenomena single Did It All for Love, also appearing in the related music video. Asia were also credited with contributing the Giorgio Moroder-produced track Gypsy's Soul to the Sylvester Stallone film soundtrack to Over the Top, although Wetton was the only band member involved. Wetton and Downes' attempt to restart the group in 1987 with guitarist Scott Gorham and drummer Michael Sturgis fizzled when they were unable to land a worldwide recording deal. Wetton and Palmer were more successful in reuniting the band for a few tours of Europe in the summer and fall of 1989. Downes was not available at this time, so keyboards were played by John Young. Guitars on this tour were handled by Alan Darby, and Zoe Nicholas and Susie Webb were brought aboard to provide backup vocals. Unlike Wetton's later anger at Asia continuing without him in the 1990s, this lineup was viewed favorably by other Asia band members. Asia returned to the studio in 1990 with Toto guitarist Steve Lukather and other musicians and released Then and Now, a best-of with 4 new tracks. Days Like These from the disc received substantial airplay during the summer of 1990 on AOR radio stations and re-sparked some interest in the band. Pat Thrall joined Downes, Palmer and Wetton on tour and they performed classic material, including King Crimson and UK songs. The band toured the Soviet Union in November 1990 to play in front of 20,000 fans on 2 sold-out nights. Days Like These charted in the US at number 64 in 1990 and climbed all the way to number 2 on the US Album Rock Tracks chart. A video was planned but scrapped because various problems hampered the single's chance at the top 40. Asia received the RIAA Gold Album Award for Then and Now many years later, but the initial response was modest as the album failed to dent the top 100. A DVD and CD are available of the Asia concerts in the USSR. Wetton left in April 1991 after a South American tour, discouraged by Asia's lack of success in the US. 1991 Euro 2006, Payne era. After Wetton's 1991 departure, vocalist bassist John Payne joined the band and, together with Downes, enlisted new musicians and led Asia through to 2006. The first album with this lineup was Aqua, released in June 1992. In addition to Downes and Payne, the album featured Howe, Palmer, and guitarist Al Pitrelli. Howe returned during the sessions having just left Yes Again, but Palmer would leave soon, committing to an ELP reunion, and was able to play on just 3 songs. Session men then completed the drumming. Downes' environmentalist single, Who Will Stop the Rain, attracted some radio attention. The Aqua Club tour featured Howe, who took the stage after the 5th song. The tour was successful enough to warrant the band's continuation. The 1992-93 tour featured Downes, Howe, Payne, guitarist Vinnie Burns and drummer Trevor Thornton. Before a European festival tour in late 1993, Howe and Burns left and were replaced by guitarist Keith Moore. Payne acquitted himself on the tour, but many fans refused to support an Asia lineup without Wetton. The group released Aria in May 1994, which featured lead guitarist Al Pitrelli once again, who would leave Asia during the short Aria tour. This illustrates how the keyboard-driven band often faced trouble keeping a regular guitarist. Aria did not fare well commercially and the ensuing tour was limited to 4 concerts. Simply Red guitarist Aziz Ibrahim took over during the tour. Aria also introduced new drummer Michael Sturgis, who had been involved during the band's aborted 1987 reunion and had appeared on some of the sessions for Aqua. Aria was not released in the United States until 1995. Over New Year's Eve 1996, a broken pipe inundated the control room in Downes and Payne's recording studio, Electric Palace, in London. Amid the lost equipment, a vault containing unreleased material was found intact. The band decided to release the double-disc Archiver, a collection of unreleased tracks recorded during the first 3 Downes-Payne albums. Next, Arena, released in February 1996, featured Downes, Payne, Sturgis, Ibrahim and guest guitarist Elliot Randall. The album featured Asia's longest track ever in The Day Before the War. The album was released on Resurgence Records but there was no tour because of lack of interest. The group's lone promotional performance in conjunction with the album occurred on April 19, 1996, when Downes and Payne appeared with guitarist Elliot Randall on the Virgin FM radio program Alive in London to play the song Never. An all-acoustic album, Live at the Town and Country Club, was recorded by the group in September 1997 that featured a lineup of Downes, Payne, Ibrahim, and drummer Bob Richards. In 1999, there was talk of a reunion of the original lineup. The original proposition included Dave Kilminster on guitar, who had previously toured and recorded with Wetton. While Howe was interested in participating, he was unable to because of his busy schedule with Yes. This reunion did not take place and John Payne continued to carry on Asia with Downes uninterrupted. Wetton and Palmer did, however, get together to form Kango, which included Kilminster and John Young, although the band was short-lived. Kilminster went on to work with Keith Emerson, The Nice and Roger Waters. In 2000, Geffen Universal released a best-of entitled The Very Best of Asia, Heat of the Moment, which also included 3 rare B-sides from the early days. 2001's Aura featured 3 different session guitarists, including Ian Crichton, who'd briefly joined Asia in 1998 to 1999. Aura took a more progressive rock form, but still did not recapture the commercial success of the first album. Former members Howe, Thrall, Sturgis and Elliot Randall also made guest appearances. The single Ready to Go Home was barely distributed. Asia then signed with Recognition. 2001 did see the band with a stable lineup, achieved during the Aura sessions featuring Downes, Payne, guitarist Guthrie Govan and ex-Manfred Mann's Earth band The Firm Uriah Heep, Gary Newman, drummer Chris Slade. Asia would tour for the first time since 1994, including the first US dates since 1993. A live album and DVD, Asia, Live in the USA, was released in 2003, recorded at the Classic Rock Festival in Trenton, New Jersey in October 2002, which they co-headlined with Uriah Heep. In the summer of 2003, Downes and Payne did the Asia Across America tour, which got some national media attention. Performing unplugged, the duo would reportedly play anywhere in the U.S. that fans requested, provided there was a venue and the fans put up $3,000 to cover costs. From New Jersey to Alaska, gigs took place and the fans were treated to meet and greet sessions after each show. Marking a departure from convention, for the first time, a studio release was not titled as a single word starting and ending with the letter A, released on Asia's newly signed label SPV Inside Out Records. 2004's Silent Nation picked up some unexpected exposure on the internet. In 2004, an acoustic Asia toured once again featuring only Downes and Payne. In 2005 the full band toured in Europe and the Americas, playing settings ranging from small clubs to medium-sized theaters. Again, in the US, attendance was poor at best. Meanwhile, Wetton and Downes released some archival Asia material under the name Wetton Downes, and they then reunited to record a full-length album, and an accompanying EP and DVD. 2 additional Icon projects have since followed, Icon 2, Rubicon and Icon 3. In August 2005, Slade left the group to be replaced by drummer Jay Shellen. The new band started work on an album, tentatively entitled Architect of Time, which was originally planned for release in 2006, though later developments would cause this project to be shelved for the time being. 2006 Euro 13, Original Asia reforms. In early 2006, the partnership between Downes and Payne was dissolved when Downes left for a reunion of the original band lineup under the Asia name, a breakup that Payne described as painful. The existing lineup continued for a short while before morphing into GPS. When Downes split in 2006, Payne owned a significant portion of the rights to the band name Asia, until a legal agreement was set by both bands' management. The original members now perform and record as Asia exclusively. On May 9, 2006, John Payne, Geoff Downes, John Wetton, Carl Palmer and Steve Howe contractually agreed that John Payne could continue his 15-year period with Asia as Asia Featuring John Payne. Asia Featuring John Payne debuted in 2007 with Payne on vocals, bass, Guthrie Govan on guitar, Eric Nolander on keyboards and Jay Shellen on drums. The official websites of each band reflect a split between the shared history of Payne's tenure with the band, as the reunited Asia acknowledge only pre- and post-Payne albums, whereas Asia Featuring John Payne claim Payne-era albums acquired through Silent Nation as part of their own discography. Although Asia's live set lists reflect this, Asia Featuring John Payne performs songs from the entire history of Asia. Downes and the other 3 original members convened a group meeting in England in early 2006 in anticipation of formally reforming for work that year. And after a slew of rumours, they announced that this original lineup of Asia were planning a CD, DVD and world tour to celebrate the band's 25th anniversary. The band appeared in October 2006 on US cable channel VH1 Classic and began a world tour largely focused on the US. The band secured ownership of the Asia name and toured under the description of the 4 original members of Asia. The set list featured most of the first album as well as a couple of songs from the second, along with one selection each from Yes, ELP, King Crimson and The Buggles to acknowledge the history of each member of the band. In a 2006 interview, guitarist Steve Howe states, "This is the real Asia. There have been other incarnations of the band, but this is the one that the public truly embraced." The tour began on August 29, 2006 in Rochester, New York. The definitive collection was released by Geffen Universal to tie into the tour in September and peaked at number 183 on the US album charts, the first time Asia had made the charts since 1990. A limited edition release available only at Best Buy stores also included a DVD of all the band's music videos. The reunion tour continued into 2007 with venue size based on the success of the 2006 shows, where the band was mainly playing in clubs and theaters. Many of these sold out, including all 7 dates in Japan. Also in 2007, the band released Fantasia, Live in Tokyo on CD and DVD through Eagle Records, commemorating the 25th anniversary and documenting the success of the 2006 to 2007 tour. In mid-2007, all 4 original members went into the studio to record a new album, marking the first recorded material from all 4 original members since 1983's Alpha. The band continued to tour until major heart surgery for Wetton in the second half of the year saw remaining tour dates rescheduled for 2008. The new studio album, entitled Phoenix, was released on Frontiers Records on April 14, 2008, along with a world tour to promote. The 12-track album includes An Extraordinary Life, based on Wetton's experience of ill health, rockers such Never Again, and Nothing's Forever, and power ballads such as Heroin, and I Will Remember You. The world tour also featured a couple of the new songs. The album cover featured Dean's illustration and design. A Phoenix album did well in both the American and European Japanese markets. It debuted at number 73 American Billboard 200. The band had not charted with a studio album since 1985. As a special finale to the US Phoenix tour, the band performed, for the first time ever, the entire first Asia album from beginning to end at their San Francisco concert at the Regency Center on May 5. The album comprised the entire second set of the evening's concert. In summer 2009, Asia toured the USA with Yes. Asia opened with a 55-minute show, while Yes closed with a 1 hour and 50-minute set. Asia's set included only An Extraordinary Life from Phoenix, the rest of the songs coming from the first 2 albums plus 1 cover each from The Buggles, King Crimson and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yes songs were omitted from this tour's setlist, though Asia also covered Roundabout on earlier legs of the 4 original members' tour. Contrary to some early expectations, Downes did not perform with Yes, although their setlist included 2 songs from the 1980 album Drama, which featured Downes on keys. A series of shows late in the tour featured a special appearance by Ian MacDonald. In late 2009, the band began working on their follow-up CD to Phoenix. According to Wetton's website in late November 2009, good news is that the new album is starting to leap, rather than creep in terms of progress. This week I have 2 completed lead vocals, with complete harmony chorus voxes on 3. It's just me, Geoff Downes, Steve R. Ispin, and Mike Paxman in the studio. Carl Palmer is pretty much all done, Steve H. O. is half done, and returns to the fold after Yes tour. It sounds absolutely wonderful. The follow-up, titled Omega, was released in the UK on April 26, 2010. The band finished a new studio album timed to coincide with the band's 30th anniversary, titled XXX, and released in the UK on July 2, 2012 and worldwide around the same time. In September 2012 they played 4 shows in Japan and a North American tour started on October 11, 2012. The UK tour, however, had to be cancelled after a number of shows due to Palmer contracting a serious case of E. coli. 2013 present, Howe's retirement and Gravitas. On January 10, 2013, Steve Howe announced his retirement from the band to focus on other projects, including Yes, bringing an end to the reunion of the original lineup. Asia in turn announced they would be continuing with new guitarist Sam Coulson, with a new album in the works entitled Gravitas. The new lineup performed live in 2013. The band finished the recording sessions for Gravitas in December 2013 and in January 2014 they started shooting the music video for Valkyrie, which was released as a single. The album's cover artwork was designed by Asia longtime collaborator, Roger Dean. On January 30, 2014, Wetton revealed the album's track listing through Asia's official website and talked about each song from the album. The album was released on March 24, 2014. Gravitas, and reached #1 in the progressive rock chart for music on March 27. Personnel. Through the years, Geoff Downes has been the most consistent member of the band, which experienced a revolving roster of noted musicians, particularly in the 1990s. Certain musicians have joined and left after a short time without recording any studio material with the group. The most notable collaboration of this kind was the participation of Greg Lake in the Asia concert on bass guitar and lead vocals. Yet more musicians have played as session musicians or have guested with the band without formally joining. Some of these artists include Robert Fleischman, Vinnie Colaiuta, Francis Dunnery, Ant Glynn, Scott Gorham, Tanwa Suhoti, Louis Jardim, Ron Comey, Tony Levin, Steve Lukather, Thomas Lang, Kim Nielsen Parsons, Nigel Glockler, Simon Phillips, and Alex Thomas. Steve Howe of Yes fame was an original member, and rejoined the original lineup in 2006, before departing to pursue other projects in 2013. Lineup, timeline. This is an approximate timeline of the members of Asia. Discography. Asia, Alpha, Astra, Then and Now, Aqua, Aria, Arena, Rare, Aura, Silent Nation, Phoenix, Omega, XXX, Gravitas, Remixes. In 2005, DJ Manian's dance remix of Heat of the Moment was released to nightclubs. Soundtracks and other uses. In the episode Kenny Dies of the animated TV series South Park, Eric Cartman and the United States Congress sing Heat of the Moment a cappella. A cover of the song Heat of the Moment is playable in the PlayStation 2 game Guitar Hero Encore, Rocks the 80s. In the film The 40-Year-Old Virgin, main character Andy Schizzer is mocked for having a framed Asia poster in his apartment. Also, Heat of the Moment is played during the scene in which Andy chases Trish's car after she leaves his home. The song Lay Down Your Arms was used by the animated film Freddy the Frog starring Ben Kingsley, Jenny Agutter and Brian Blessed. In the film Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone, a song called Gypsy Soul is done by Asia. In the episode Mystery Spot of the CW series Supernatural, every Tuesday morning, Sam is woken up by Heat of the Moment coming from the radio, followed by Arise and Shine, Sammy. From Dean, see also. Rodney Matthews, a fantasy artist responsible for some of the album covers during the 1990s. References. External links, Asia Reunion, official site, Asia Reunion on MySpace.